Well, we're lucky in Gibraltar that we actually have an act that defines bullying. So the Employment Bullying at Work Act sets out that bullying behaviour is behaviour that is intimidating, humiliating, distressing to the recipient. So that's a very wide, broad range of behaviours.
So if I'm an employee at work and I'm not happy about something my boss has said, is that bullying?
That's certainly not necessarily a case of bullying. I think we have to be careful to define bullying within the behaviours of the Act, and it isn't always just somebody saying something that you don't like or you don't want to hear, and which is why it's very important that you speak about it and find out where the context of the bullying might have come from.
So how big a problem would you say Gibraltar has as regards bullying?
From what I see, and I do see the cases because I'm an employment lawyer and a tribunal mediator, there are a lot of cases in Gibraltar, and there are cases that have been allowed to escalate and get out of hand, and that's probably why we see them in the tribunal.
Tell us about some of these cases. What sector are they?
So, well, without breaching confidentiality and with only speaking sort of generically, they're across the sectors, in the private sector, in the public sector, and they're normally to do with exactly this behaviour in which somebody's felt humiliated, undermined, maybe they've been spoken to in a way that's inappropriate, that's caused them to suffer from stress, maybe they've been overlooked for promotion repeatedly, maybe they've just felt that they've not been treated in the way that gives them dignity and respect in the workplace.
So if I'm an employee and I'm feeling bullied at work, what are my rights and how do I go about dealing with the issue?
Well, as I say, we do have an act, so there are rights in the employment tribunal to bring a claim for bullying and harassment, and ultimately your employer has a responsibility to have in place an investigatory process and procedure. So your first port of call really should be with your HR department or with a manager that you trust, and I would always recommend someone who feels or suspects that they're being bullied to speak to someone about it first, someone they trust, someone in a position of authority, someone that they can do something about.
So once a case of bullying is reported, what are the options? Because some people might feel a little bit intimidated by the process and might think, perhaps I should just sit down and suffer in silence.
Never suffer in silence, because as I say, this can cause the matter to escalate. It can normally build up more stress and anxiety and more problems within the workplace. The best thing is to raise it in a calm and within the process within your workplace. If there isn't a process within the workplace, you can go to an external advisor, you can go to the Citizens Advice Bureau, there are plenty of employment lawyers who will not necessarily give you strong advice or, will take it to the court type advice, but can at least talk you through your options. And then there are also a number of mediators in Gibraltar who can help someone.
So what would your message be for anyone listening to this interview, watching this interview, who might themselves be facing a bullying issue and are unsure what to do?
I think ultimately speak about it, raise your voice and let people know how you're feeling, because the test in the Act is about feeling humiliated or distressed, and that's a strong emotion. So raise that, talk about it, don't suffer in silence, talk to somebody you trust or a manager, and if you don't have someone to talk to, go to one of the mediators in Gibraltar, the Citizens Advice Bureau or a lawyer.